Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Dram Antique Society tasting. This evening I'm going to taste something I should have tasted a year ago. I know that it's currently Feis Ile in Islay, and or just recently has been Feis Ile in Islay. And last year I got a Turas tasting set from BUNNAHABHAIN, and I never got around to trying it. So it comes in a nice little box, the Western Home Collection Feis Ile 2025 Discovery Set. And in the box, when you open it, you get quite a nice package. You get 4 whiskies, the 3 from the Western Home Collection, and you get a sample of the 12-year-old as well. You get some cards with tasting notes and a little bit about the collection, and a little button or glass cap for a keepsake. And I'm going to try the 3. I'm not going to try the 12-year-old. I think I've probably reviewed that in an earlier video. So I'm going to try the 3 from the Western Home Collection, or the Turas whiskies. See how we get on with them. So bottled for Feis Ile 2025. So we've got 3 whiskies. We've got Turas the number 1, 15-year-old spirit, fully matured Manzanilla and Amarone cask finish, 55.9%. So that's this little one here. I'm going to pour out some of these just to let them sit for a period before I nose and taste them. Then we have number 2, Turas 2. No, it's Palo Cortado finish, cask finish, 58.4%. And the third one is Turas 3, 19-year-old Armagnac cask finish. So first up we have the Turas number 1, 15-year-old fully matured Manzanilla and Amarone cask finish. It's the first instalment of the Western Home Collection from BUNNAHABHAIN called Turas, which means setting sail. This one is a marriage of spirit distilled in 2008 and matured entirely in Manzanilla sherry cask, with a spirit that spent its first 10 years in refill casks, followed by 5 years in Amarone wine casks. So Manzanillas are often regarded as tasting slightly saltier due to them being aged by the sea. It's also usually a bit fruitier, so it can add subtle citrus fruit and floral notes as well, and that will bring dryness, freshness and salinity. Amarone de Valpolicella is a very heavy aromatic wine with a high tannin content that sometimes has slightly bitter notes. That's where its name comes from. Amaro is the Italian word for bitter. For high quality Amarone wines, new non-pre-aged barrels are used, which further emphasizes the slightly bitter character of the wine. An Amarone cask finish can bring aromas of chocolate, cherries, plums, caramel, and distinct oak notes to a whiskey. So it's a nice colour, this one, 15 years old, 55.9%. And it has nice tears, reasonably viscous. And first up on the nose is you get a nice coastal kick. Sea spray, minty prickle and seaweed, and salty leather. And there's more sharpness of nutmeg and salinity. And then behind that there's some hints of blackberries, sour cranberries and prunes with a chocolate coating, but not in a jammy way. It stays fairly thin and sharp. Get salted walnuts, apple peelings and bread crust. And in the background there's a faint hint of gunpowder. There is a burst of dark fruits, black cherries, plums and blackberries, intertwined by cloves and roasted nuts. And given time in the glass, it becomes a bit rounder. We'll try the mouth. And you get a powerful mix of Bunna's sailing character, possibly amplified by the Manzanilla. And then there's rounder notes, salted nuts, hints of treacle toffee, and a lot of wood spice, mainly cinnamon and ginger. More walnuts and nutmeg, fresh cinnamon pastries and treacle toffee, blending with hazelnut, dried figs and soft herbal notes. And there's a hint of plums and black cherries, flashes of raspberry eau de vie and Seville oranges. And the finish is long, and it shows red winey notes, some drying tannins, cocoa and herbal notes. And the warm spices linger on the palate, accented by a hint of sea spray. I'm going to add 2 mils of water to this. This has a nice symmetry. And with water it becomes more delicate, still slightly salty. Danish pastry, flower meadow, raisins, chocolate plums, dried cranberries, candied orange peel, and it's like an old dusty barrel in a damp cellar. And with water, it's like sweet and sour. There's a bit of sulphur, slightly earthy, changing into notes of a bakery with sweet pastries. Dried plums, cherry stones, sultana raisins, dark chocolate, cocoa, slightly spicy, and young oak. And with water, the finish is long, pleasant, with dark chocolate, espresso, dried plums, chocolate raisins, black cherries, and it's pleasantly warming. So it's an interesting recipe. The Manzanilla is hard to detect as such, even though it may have strengthened the coastal side of Buna. The Amarone part is slightly less to my liking, but then again, it isn't overdone, and it adds a sweet roundness. I do like it. It's not too sweet, but it's very fruity with raisins, dried plums, chocolate, coffee, and that sweet aroma of the bakery when it spreads around the area in the morning. And I like sulphur flavours, and I'm glad I also felt them in this whiskey. So I'm going to cleanse my palate with Ollie's multi-seed sesame pretzel thins, oven baked, under 120 calories. So quick. I'll just take some water. So next up, we have Turas map number 2, Palo Cortado cask finish, 58.4%. So it began its life in American oak bourbon barrels and then embarked on a new journey, spending a year in cask from the historic sherry region of Jerez in Spain. Rare Palo Cortado hogs heads were selected as a finishing partner, and we'd be looking for that to deliver a single malt that harmonises the rich warmth of American oak with the complexity of and I like Palo Cortado sherry. The whiskey was hand-picked by the master blender at BUNNAHABHAIN, Julian Fernandez, and it's a result of a flavour journey shaped by the sea. And it's offered at 58.4% ABV, and it's limited to 1,438 bottles. So Palo Cortado is often regarded as having the nose of an Amontillado and a palate of an Oloroso. Palo Cortado tends to be less bitter than Amontillado, and they're typically medium-bodied and dry with flavours of toffee, caramel, dried fruits, raisins, almonds and hazelnuts, with some savoury and leather notes in the older styles. It's best served at room temperature or slightly chilled. And ex Palo Cortado cask finishing on a whiskey should impart more savoury notes and saltiness, together with a citrus, usually orange, and oilier nuts such as hazelnut. So let's see what we get with this one. It's a bit paler than the Manzanilla Amarone 15-year-old, and it's quite thin tiers. Reasonably viscous. And on the nose, you get that vanilla buttercream. And then it's like fresh sponge cake notes. Candied lemon. Almonds and hints of raisins and figs. Jaffa cakes. Orangey, malty. And it's got the usual sherry notes with raisins and plums. And you're not getting too much burn from the ABV. We're trying them out. And it's a nice, warm, honeyed hazelnuts, orange marmalade, and gentle spice notes of cinnamon and clove, with dried fruits and a touch of oak. And the orangey and malty notes come through from the nose, with a typical Bunna saltiness. And it has a quite a thick, oily mouthfeel, which is nice. Honey caramel and a nice pepper bite, without it being overbearing. And it has a long, sweet finish with subtle toffee notes and clove. It's sweet with a touch of spice. It's quite mouth-watering, actually. I'm going to add 2 mils of water to this. And this one has tremendous bathymetry. There's no age statement in this one. And now with water it becomes very lemony and citric. Honey. And then the sherry appears along with dried fruits. But the lemon keeps fighting back. Try them out. With water it becomes quite spicy, but there's also the honey sweetness and dried fruits. It's very chewy on the palate, coating it beautifully. And the finish is long, sweet and spicy. I've had this type of sherry finish before with rather mixed results, but this one is a treat. It's a lot sweeter to my palate, probably why they only finish it for a year, than the other sherry types I've had. I'd say this is an excellent Bunnahabhain. So we'll have another one of Ollie's milky sesame thin pretzel things. They're very nice. And so to our third and final whisky of this tasting, and it's the Turas number 3, 19-year-old Armagnac cask finish at 50.2%. So it was distilled on the 9th of March 2005, and it's a distillery exclusive dram, but you can order it online. Slumbered in oak cask before setting sail on a finishing journey in a hand-selected single cask from the Armagnac region of Gascony, southwestern France. So it's finishing in the finest French oak before being bottled in 2024. This distillery exclusive release was offered at 50.2% and limited to 558 bottles. The effect of Armagnac cask finishing on a whisky can significantly enhance its flavour profile. Armagnac is a less common cousin of cognac and is often used to finish whiskies, imparting unique flavours that can add depth and complexity to the spirit. And we'd expect an Armagnac to introduce rich, dark fruit notes, enhancing the overall taste of the whisky. So this one has quite a nice tide line. Reasonably sticky tears. And initially it's very lemon citrus, but then you get dried fruit, vanilla and malt. It's very relaxed and easy on the nose. Get some nuts, dried fruits, dates, sultanas, plums, figs, hay, tobacco, and there's some ripe orchard fruits in the background, cooked apple, and it's packed full of dried fruits, apricot, creamy vanilla, toasted oak, and a hint of dark chocolate. It's very elegant, not oaky, quite luxurious. Try them out. Quite citric. And it's very much a sweet apple pie with lots of sugar on top. Lots of spices and a hint of mocha. And it's gorgeously thick across the mouth, almost chewy. Quite a delight, actually. Oily, fruity, spices, pepper, honey, good sweetness, tobacco, dried fruits, cinnamon, and cloves, and that candied orange peel, baked apples, fade to reveal caramel, a light ginger spice, and a hint of licorice. It's not massively Bunnahabhain, but there is that Bunnahabhain oranginess. And the finish is long, lemony, a bit of spice from the cask, and a hint of chocolate. Warm raisins, woody spices. And there's a dry, lingering finish with oak spice and cocoa. I'm going to add a mill of water to this one. Beautiful symmetry on this one. still very fruity and elegant. The oak, with water, the oak ramps up a bit. And with water, it enhances the pepper and the spices and dials down the fruit a bit. And the finish is peppery with water, still quite long. This is a fabulous and different Bunnahabhain. Very relaxed, but still very tasty. And it actually tastes older than its 19 years. I very much like Bunna, peated or unpeated. These were all unpeated with differing ages and finishes. The first one with the Amarone and Manzanilla is not overpowered with either and results in a fruity but not overly sweet Bunna. The second one with the Palo Cortado finish is more in line with what I would expect about Bunna, coastal and sweeter than usual though. The Armagnac finish of number 3 highlights just what the Bunna spirit can do when treated with love and affection. And I must seek out other distilleries that have used an Armagnac finish. Thank you for listening.